We're following breaking news in the trial of Maxwell Anderson. He has been found guilty on all counts of murdering Sade Robinson. I want to get right out. Sade Robinson's father is speaking to Arbria Jones. That interview is happening right now, so let's listen in.
But my daughter shouldn't have had to go through this at all.
Prayers.
I tell her I'm coming sometimes because I've always been there for her. Whenever she had a problem, whenever somebody was bothering her, she would call me. I was her guardian, pretty much.
Okay.
And I handled anything that bothered her. I told her I never want her fighting, even though I told her how to fight. I taught her different stuff or whatever, but I told her whenever you need me, whenever somebody bothers you, you call me and I'll take care of it. When she got picked on in school, I was there. When her mom's ex-boyfriend did something she didn't like, I was there. You know, it didn't matter. She called me. I was always there.
Yeah.
And when she was with me, there was never a time I didn't know where she was or what was going on, so I could protect her if I needed to, if I could. And when she was kidnapped from me and taken to Milwaukee, that took a lot out of me to not be able to be there for her. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate both of you. When y'all get out of here? Y'all flying back, driving back?
Flying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, there were 2 points, but I'll just respond to the latter one. I meant to say this earlier when we were talking about the reason that black females may be more confused about the system of racism, white supremacy, and who practices it. And I said I thought the primary reason was that we don't experience the more violent forms of it. No, that's secondary. Primary, this is really key. People really need to, I hope people will hear this, and I hope people will believe this. Some people know this. The primary reason is that black females are either the primary participants or secondary participants, meaning that their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, their friends, somebody they know who's a black female is engaging in sex with white people.
Divesting gone wrong. White skin covers a multitude of sins. Sade Robinson was a victim of the algorithm and a victim of her mother's silence about white men. But looking at her mom, doesn't seem like she was ever married to anyone and only kept white men around Sade. Did you hear what Sade's father said in the beginning? He said whenever Sade would have a problem with her mom's ex-boyfriend, she would run back to him, her black father. I said this on another video, had Sade lived with her father, she would still be alive. I wasn't wrong. I am not blaming her mom, but had she lived with her father, she would be surrounded by other black people. Let me explain. Sade did live with her dad up until, in her father's words, she was kidnapped and brought back to Milwaukee. He says it in the full post-verdict interview that appears in this video. And in the Sade's Voice Foundation website, the foundation her mom has started, there is an About Sade's section that gives a transparent and detailed overview of her life. In it, it details how she lived with mom until she started having issues in 7th grade, then moved down south with dad and got on track, started excelling in school and became disciplined. But then her sophomore year, she was struggling with mental health issues and returned back to Milwaukee after a long-fought battle with her mother to bring her home. This is how it's described on the website. The website's About section is written in a weird way and looks as if it's only told through the mom's eyes. She tried to make her father look bad, but keep reading and you will see how weird the site is. Fast forward, it says she turned 19 and then started having issues with her mom that escalated and left Sade homeless. She started crashing at her grandparents' and then friends' houses, which ultimately led to her getting her own apartment. This was when she first turned 19. Sade had to work 2 jobs and had a part-time bartending gig to support herself. As you can see, the site constantly mentions that Sade funded everything on her own. Why is Sade doing everything on her own at that age? You see how this all ties together? I am not blaming the mom, but I will say, Sade was working 2 jobs. The algorithm for black women on social media tells black women to get an older white man so you don't have to struggle. Sade most likely was excited by this older white man because in her mind, she wouldn't have to struggle anymore. Let's break it down. Sade met Maxwell face-to-face at the bar a couple nights before with her coworker. He was their bartender. Apparently, they were introduced by her coworker's relative weeks earlier. I'm assuming it was over text. That would explain why that unknown witness said Maxwell had already planned to harm Sade weeks in advance. On March 29, 2024, Sade visits Victor's bar and nightclub. She leaves the bar with Maxwell Anderson, who works there part-time.
Excuse me. 03/29/2024 at 11:37 and some seconds p.m.
All right. Playing this clip. What do you see?
In the back right of the frame, I see Miss Robinson entering the bar.
She says hello to a bouncer or somebody?
It would appear to be a bouncer, yes.
And then the second clip, which has the numbers 1708. What do you see here?
Coming out of the frame is Miss Robinson and Mr. Anderson. They exchange pleasantries with people at the door and then exit out the door to the parking lot or street.
April 1st, 2024. Sade and Anderson exchange text messages planning a date at the Twisted Fisherman restaurant. The algorithm again, pasta and lobster, which is a popular saying among black women seeking white men and them eating seafood. How ironic. Around 5:18 p.m., they meet for the date.
Well, testimony just wrapped up for the day in Milwaukee's first date murder trial. Much of today focused on this video here.
And prosecutors say it shows someone driving around the city in Sade Robinson's vehicle with her phone that night that she disappeared, including this video of her car driving right past her Eastside apartment.
Maxwell Anderson is accused of killing and dismembering Sade Robinson after a night out. This afternoon, they focused on DNA evidence and the items investigators were able to link to both Robinson and Anderson.
Now, Anderson is being charged with homicide, arson, mutilation, and hiding a corpse. 15 more witnesses took the stand today on day 7 of this trial. And once again, mostly law enforcement officers. 12 News' Hannah Hilliard is joining us live outside of the Milwaukee County Courthouse complex.
And Hannah, Robinson's car covered a lot of the ground today in the early morning hours of April 2nd.
It sure did, Blake. Indiana, the prosecution here trying to convince the jury that Maxwell Anderson was the one behind the wheel of Sade Robinson's car, driving it across the county for more than 2 hours that night before disposing body parts of hers in Warnemont Park, where her severed leg was eventually discovered. Through security footage in Sade Robinson's phone records, detectives.
How extensive was this video canvas?
Quite extensive. It was all around the area.
Showing the jury the movement of Robinson's phone inside her car after it left Maxwell Anderson's Southside home in the early morning hours of April 2nd, 2024.
This is Mr. Anderson's residence right here. We can track her vehicle going east or west on Euclid.
At 1:06 a.m., investigators spotted her car passing Lakefront Brewery on Commerce downtown.
Her vehicle is entering now, and it is traveling north.
That location right next door to her apartment, but the car doesn't stop. Instead, it continues on. At 2:06 a.m., that same car then spotted on the city's north side near 27th and Capitol.
Approximately 10 minutes later.
It's seen going eastbound.
Right there.
The car then travels south again on the freeway, spotted near the airport on College Avenue just before 2:45 a.m.
So the traffic that we're going to see on this camera is going to or away from the lake?
It's going to the lake.
The car traveling toward Warnemont Park at 2:51 a.m., where it stays.
Is that the vehicle there?
Correct.
Until 4:35 a.m., more than an hour and a half later.
This is where we lost her phone. It died.
The defense saying there's no proof Anderson was the one behind the wheel. No cameras ever captured the driver. Also, they honed in on the car passing Robinson's home.
There's no evidence at all that Max had ever been there.
Yeah, none.
Or even that he knew where she lived.
I don't have any evidence that he knew where she lived.
The questioning leading to a back and forth with the lead investigator on the stand.
You are aware that they were hanging out, talking at Twisted Fisherman and Duke's on Water all night, right?
Yes, they could have easily talked about it.
Nothing else?
Defense?
Sure, could have, would have, should have, but we don't know that they did.
Correct.
Okay, that's all.
Because one of the people in those conversations is no longer with us, right?
Correct.
Nothing else?
Well, that's one reason. Another reason is there's no evidence that they talked about it.
Because she's dead, and I can't ask her.
A lot of back and forth there, Hannah. The state indicated that they are getting close to resting their case.
Right, Deanna, following more than 5 full days of testimony, the state said this afternoon that they have roughly 8 more witnesses to go before the defense then
exits the establishment. 4 hours and 20 seconds.
They leave and Sade drives with Anderson and the passenger back to his home. Surveillance video shows Sade's car at Anderson's home. Movement is recorded inside Anderson's home and yard after their arrival. Night of April 1st, early April 2nd, 2024. Anderson and Sade are at Anderson's home.
Inside his Southside home the night of April 1st, 2024.
So you were able to tell that in the 10 o'clock hour, it looks like on 5 occasions the camera on the phone was activated?
Correct.
Those images?
They are photos that I found within the download of Mr. Anderson's phone.
Way too graphic to show on television, but were shown to the jury Thursday. One depicting a person's bare backside with underwear and jeans pulled down.
Why was this of note to you?
Because Sade was wearing light-colored pants along with a light-colored underwear that was recovered.
Then they saw this one, a black woman with a cream-colored sweater like the one Robinson was wearing that night, laying face down on a couch like the one in Anderson's living room. The image shows a hand grabbing her exposed breast.
Which breast is exposed? Left or right?
Believe the right.
The jury knows from previous testimony, Robinson's right breast was severed from her torso.
I don't know if she's alive or dead or sleeping. I can't tell from this photo.
A digital forensic investigator testifying what happens around 12:05 a.m. to some of the images on Anderson's phone.
Based on the time frame and when the phone itself actually has in the actual timeline itself, the next actions that happen within that system is deletion.
The expert says Anderson's phone not used the rest of those early morning hours.
So from 12:08 a.m. to 8:59 a.m., are you saying that there was no human user manipulation of the phone?
Yes, there was absolutely no human user interaction.
April 2nd, 2024, early morning hours. 4:39 a.m., last recorded data on Sade's phone. Surveillance video shows Anderson's car leaving his home around 4:47 a.m. Sade's car is seen traveling around Milwaukee's north side, believed to be driven by Anderson. A person wearing dark clothing, possibly Anderson, is seen on surveillance at 8:42 a.m.
Through security footage in Sade Robinson's phone records, detectives.
How extensive was this video canvas?
Quite extensive. It was all around the area.
Showing the jury the movement of Robinson's phone inside her car after it left Maxwell Anderson's Southside home in the early morning hours of April 2nd, 2024.
This is Mr. Anderson's residence right here. We can track her vehicle going west on Euclid.
At 1:06 a.m., investigators spotted her car passing Lakefront Brewery on Commerce downtown.
Her vehicle is entering now, and it is traveling north.
That location right next door to her apartment, but the car doesn't stop. Instead, it continues on. At 2:06 a.m., that same car then spotted on the city's north side near 27th and Capitol.
Approximately 10 minutes later.
It's seen going eastbound.
Right there.
The car then travels south again on the freeway, spotted near the airport on College Avenue just before 2:45 a.m.
So the traffic that we're going to see on this camera is going to or away from the lake?
It's going to the lake.
The car traveling toward Warnemont Park at 2:51 a.m., where it stays.
Is that the vehicle there?
Correct.
Until 4:35 a.m., more than an hour and a half later.
This is where we lost her phone. It died.
April 2nd, 2024, later, morning. Anderson sends last text to Sade at 10:36 a.m. asking how is work going. Sade's car is set on fire sometime after this text.
In the Maxwell Anderson murder trial, prosecutors gave the jury this graphic look at Sade Robinson's vehicle.
This is the vehicle prosecutors say was set on fire the same day her friends reported her missing last year. Anderson is accused of killing Robinson and dismembering her remains after a first date.
Hannah Hilliard's been listening to the testimony all day into the afternoon. Hannah, many of the questions focused on Sade Robinson's vehicle and the evidence police say they found inside.
Oh, right, Derek. In fact, some of the last images the jury saw here today were of some critical security footage. Prosecutors say that footage shows 2 women who saw the car go up in flames. The jury Thursday seeing footage of Sade Robinson leaving her East Side apartment in a black jacket and jeans, taking off in her blue Honda Civic, never to return home again. The very next day near 30th and Lisbon. Prosecutors say these 2 women in the area witnessed someone light a car on fire behind a nearby abandoned building. The one wearing blue flailing her arms, trying to get anyone's attention. A different angle shows someone with a large tan backpack walking away from the fire.
And when you arrived there, what did you observe?
A car burning behind the building located at 30th and Lisbon.
Firefighters just blocks away responding to it. Police body camera video capturing the severity of that fire. The front seats down to the frame. Just about every item inside charred and soaked. Maxwell Anderson, the man on trial accused of setting this fire, watching the video with a blank stare.
Super weird because that engine still looks like it's in pristine condition. When I ran the license plate and the VIN of this motor vehicle, it listed to Sade Robinson.
Investigators on the stand Thursday describing what they found inside Robinson's burnt out trunk, her tattered black jacket and her jeans inside out.
So you did not place them like that? No. Is there anything upon looking at that strikes you as unusual?
I think looking at how these were recovered, it could be consistent with somebody assisting in the removal.
Part of Sade's body is discovered later at Wanamort Park.
12 News' Hannah Hilliard is live outside the Milwaukee County Courthouse complex tonight.
And Hannah, the details of the autopsy are just really difficult to hear.
Absolutely, Deanna and Blake, but they are critical in homicide cases. That assistant medical examiner on the stand here today calling this case a, quote, very unusual one, as she set out to try and answer one of the biggest questions that remains in this case. How did Sade Robinson die?
No,
From
I'm
April
asking
3rd?
her, you were not in receipt of the entire body from day one, right?
That's correct. Through June 19th, 2024, assistant medical examiner Dr. Lauren Decker says she's the one who supervised the autopsy of 19-year-old Sade Robinson.
This is sort of an unusual autopsy, correct? In that you were doing it over the period of a time period, right?
Is very unusual.
The extended period of time coinciding with the discovery of first Robinson's severed leg.
Leg right there?
On the shores of Lake Michigan in Cudahy's Warnemont Park, all the way to mid-June when they received her arm that washed ashore in Waukegan, Illinois. The details of the autopsy grim.
How much blood would you expect to see if that was done before death?
A lot.
Was there any visible here?
No.
The jury seeing images too graphic for television, learning the dismemberment likely happened after Robinson's death with a sharp object like a knife.
Were you able to examine whether or not strangulation had occurred in this case?
No.
Why not?
The head and neck have not been recovered.
Ultimately, Dr. Decker ruled Robinson's death a homicide, but the cause still a mystery.
The way that the body was received in pieces and partially decomposed in the water, all of that makes it difficult to determine cause of death.
As to count one, the verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count one of the information. As to count two, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count two of the information. As to count three, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of arson of property other than a building as charged in count three of the information. As to count four, we, the jury, find the defendant, Maxwell Anderson, guilty of hiding a corpse as charged in count four of the information.
He was found guilty on all counts. After going through this video, it can be safe to say, had Sade lived with her dad, she would still be alive at this very time. Not saying that living with her dad would prevent her from divesting, we don't know, but we can conclude she would still be alive. The aim of this video is to show you that black women don't divest because of black men. They divest due to encouragement from black women, their mom, their aunts, their grandmothers, their friends, and the algorithm encourage black women to divest. Black mothers rather look for their missing daughters over telling their daughters, when they are alive, the truth about white men. Divesting gone wrong.